Hello, viewers. I'm Vibhuti Jha. This is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Welcome to the show. And, as always, I request you please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. I value them a lot. Taking the conversation further today, we know that India US relationship has gone through a seismic shift. One of the things about the seismic shift is whenever there is an earth shaking event, it shakes the foundation, it shakes the buildings, things break and fall. And if the Richter scale damage is huge, then it tends to build this relationships or build the entire process. So I feel that India-US relationship has gone through a seismic shift and it needs to build up. To talk about this matter, I have great pleasure in welcoming my returning guest, Mr. Mohan Sonti. Mr. Mohan Sonti is not only a bright mind, he is also a man of numbers, data, and he believes in collecting evidence for something to happen. And we connect, because of that, we connect well, because there are times when you can't avoid the truth. And if you want to know the truth, you got to go behind the details. You got to go to the roots of the problem. Because if you don't get the roots, then you are only trimming the leaves and the trunks and the branches and the fruits. The tree keeps producing the same ugly thing or the same good thing again and again. So to talk about this subject matter, Mohan Sonti ji, you're welcome. And we are definitely looking forward to your insight. Thank you. And also wanted to say that where do we begin with? So in the US-India relationship, a lot has happened. We know that. It's a matter of conversation all over the country, and I have been on TV shows in the country as well. And as I always say, every disaster offers an opportunity to set things right. And when a seismic shift happens, things collapse, and you got to rebuild. So where do you think that rebuilding must begin for India and for America? Because we are both Indian Americans, we live in America, and our love for India is absolutely unflinching. Go ahead.
Yes, so namaste Vibhuti ji, namaste the viewers. So I think there's going to be a seismic shift as in the relationship that we had for the last 70 years, the Indo-US partnership. It had a certain kind of relationship where, to an extent, I think USA was patronizing Bharat. And now things are going to shift because Bharat has started asserting itself as one of the global powers. And therefore, there's going to be a big change in how they both deal with each other. In fact, you can see that with the trade tariffs and all of that, the war that you see. But the real reasons are a little different from what they make it out to be. It's more about how they used to deal with each other in the past and how they're going to deal with each other in the coming future. So there's going to be a little change in that.
So when you talk about the way we dealt in the past and now we are going to do in the future, so there is always the thing, the past, the present, and the future. In the past, we know that India-US relationship has been a highly turbulent romantic relationship. It has never been a very smooth sailing romantic relationship. It has been turbulent. We have given India-US relationship varieties of names: strategic partner, natural ally, India, the big country, the greatest of democracy, and all that kind of thing has gone. People have paid platitudes, but still, there is a lot missing. There is a lot missing between the two. And one of the things that is missing is the trust, confidence, reliable factor, untrustworthiness. All these things creep in the relationship. And India's past with Russia and present with Russia, relationship with Russia, and US relationship with Pakistan, and whatever it has done. How do you see this play out in the immediate requirement basis?
All right. So first, if I can go over things on what, we know about the 50% tariff, the highest tariff. Again, with Brazil also has 50%, the countries with the highest tariffs. And because Trump is talking about trade and he says we have been very unfair and things like that. So let's first put to rest what isn't the problem, right? So in Indo-US trade, if you look at it, the total trade deficit that America has with China is about $295 billion, close to $300 billion. The deficit it has with Europe is about $240 billion. And USA also provides an entire security blanket through NATO to Europe, which means the real deficit, and that's entirely on American taxpayers' money, which means it spends a lot more money for Europe than it does with the deficit with China, technically, right? The deficit with Bharat is only about $45 billion, which is a very small amount. So clearly, the deficit cannot be the reason. The rhetoric is the highest with Bharat. So that cannot be a reason. Now, there is also talk of the Bharat buying oil from Russia. The total amount of oil, if you remember the oil trade, the Russian oil, the way the clause is made, it said that the prices have to be low enough that when you purchase from Russia, it cannot fund the war. So under that clause is the reason why the Russian oil is very cheap, right? So when it is cheap, Bharat is buying the Russian oil. And that is not going to fund the war because the prices are really low, because it's built into it, right? But Europe purchases about $55 billion worth of gas from Russia. Our purchase is about $65 billion of oil, right? Which, as per the clause, it cannot fund the Russian war. And it was USA which encouraged us to purchase the Russian oil. Whereas Europe purchases about $55 billion of gas, and that actually funds the war. America also, believe it or not, had a $5 billion trade with Russia with almost $2.5 billion deficit last year in 2024. And by June of 2025, they already started they almost matched up or exceeding that value. It means it's doing even more business. That $5 billion will fund the war. And this $55 billion from Europe will fund the war, not the oil purchased by Bharat. And two, the oil products are sold, and who are the purchasers of that? It is USA and Europe. So basically, if they are funding it, if they say we are funding it, even though we are not, because the Bharat cannot fund the war, the prices are too low for that. Any profit that is made by Bharat. It is Europe and America that is purchasing those oil products, right? So trade is definitely not a reason. So whatever is the reason, trade is definitely not a reason. So if you look at all of these numbers, first I want viewers to be convinced that trade is not a reason for all the rhetoric against Bharat. The Indo-US relationship, whatever is happening, trade is not the reason.
Trade is not the reason. And there is another element in India buying from Russia. I think India, Russia settled their trade in ruble and rupees. So it is not that the US in India pays in dollars. India pays in rupees and ruble trade. So that can't be funding the war as such. And you forgot to mention, or you did not mention, or you coming back to the China factor, China buys more.
Yes.
So what is this selective special treatment to India on tariff? It's a matter of, it's a real tragedy and a laughing matter. That's why I laughed. It's a ridiculous thing that United States, our government is doing. And we are both Republicans and Trump's. You are independent, I'm Republican. We are both supporters of Trump for all his domestic policies. But this one, he is off his rockers. Why?
So once we understand these numbers, we can be sure that the trade is not the reason. Funding the war, none of those are reasons, because you look at the numbers, China purchases more. In fact, Europe purchases a lot more that directly funds the war. USA purchases from Russia. And guess who else purchases the oil products besides Europe and America? Ukraine also purchases the oil products. So basically, to say that any of these things is funding the war is completely ridiculous. So what could be the real reason? If you look at it, let's go back in history and say, in 1971, if you remember, we had an Indo-Pakistan war. There was a Bangladesh genocide and all of that going on in those days, right? And that's when the Bangladesh separated, East Pakistan separated to Bangladesh. America was so desperate at that time to make a friendship and relationship with China, and it wanted to maintain Pakistan as one of its bases. So in fact, it was ready to nuke Bharat, because Bharat was ready to split even the West Pakistan, make Balochistan independent, right? Now, why is Pakistan so important? If you look at all the military bases that America has in that region, the most significant bases are actually in Pakistan. There are a few bases in Afghanistan, but Afghanistan's, as you know, the Pashtuns are very proud people. There are good and bad about things. You can say many things about the
I
Taliban
want,
and
I want, I
Afghanistan.
want to introduce an element of,
Yeah,
what do you call mischief here.
yeah.
Now we know East Pakistan is gone. It's Bangladesh. So right now, Balochistan is West Pakistan, and the rest of Pakistan is East Pakistan. Go ahead now.
True.
True.
So in that Pakistan area is where America has its military bases.
Right.
The bases in Afghanistan are really not as effective because they live in some green zones over there. Because Afghanistan is a very hostile area. I mean, that's also called the graveyard of civilizations, right? Because all those Pashtuns, you can say many things about them. They could be violent, do whatever they are, but they're very proud people and will not let outsiders come and establish bases there, right? Definitely, they're going to fight back. Not the case with Pakistan. Pakistan, the whole country was established based on a hatred. They were very clear that they cannot live with the Hindus, they cannot live in Bharat, so they separated a country, right? The day they stop hating Bharat, their very existence is going to come under question because their very existence is based on that hatred. So this is one kind of a completely stupid country that was established called Pakistan, and it's right in a very geographically strategic area. So America could actually have the bases there. And unlike in Afghanistan, Americans in Pakistan are free to do whatever they want to do. The people, the military has sold to their people are how friendly and good America is, right? So that's a very important strategic base. They don't have such a base anywhere around it. Staying in Pakistan, they have a close watch on Bharat, China, from the east side for the Iran, the Central Asia is the most strategic place ever. And that is the reason in 1971 they're ready to nuke Bharat if we wanted to split Pakistan. It is that important. Pakistan is known to be not just a terrorist nation, it's also a mercenary state. It has large population at anyone's disposal. I mean, the government doesn't care about the population either. And they are ready to sell anything. They're ready to sell the land, give their land to China or to Russia or to America or anyone, right? So we know that to be a mercenary state. That makes it a strategic location, a very strategic location. The only country that is really upset about it is Bharat. That's why in 71 they wanted to split up Balochistan as well, which never wanted to be part of Pakistan anyway. Then come 1998, when we had the nuclear test, obviously America got rattled because now we have become a little more powerful, right? So they put sanctions and did everything. Then we had a Kargil war. Then in 2001 to 2001 to 2, we had Operation Parakram. When Vajpayee government, they were ready to split Pakistan after the parliament attack. That is when America again intervened because Pakistan is a strategic asset. The only reason Pakistan exists is because America is protecting it. See, as far as China is concerned, even though Pakistan gets 80% of the military weapons and everything from China, and they call the relationship as deeper than ocean and higher than mountains, it is America's presence that is keeping Pakistan intact, right? You take America out, Bharat will split Pakistan. And if you look carefully, China never intervened in Indo-Pakistan war, be it in 1965, 48, or even 71 or any other time. Kargil war, they never intervened directly, right? If Pakistan splits up, China will say, oops, it's gone. But for America, it's strategic asset and it's actually keeping it together, right? So in Operation Parakram, which took a long time for the deployment, it's America that again intervened and kept Pakistan intact. Then during the Iraq war, it is Musharraf who came to America and he said, the moment Bush attacks Iraq, there's a good chance that Bharat will attack Pakistan and break it up. So Bush again gave an assurance to Pakistan and said, kind of warned Bharat that it's not going to attack Pakistan. So that is how Pakistan is so important and America has been protecting it forever. Now what happened in Operation Sindoor is basically Bharat has become a lot more assertive, a lot more powerful, and it has demonstrated that it can bypass even America. The number of areas that it has hit, the targets, and it has been increasing gradually, right? After the Uri attack, the Pahalgam, the Balakot, and now after the Pahalgam, Operation Sindoor, we could attack deep inside. We could attack the assets of America as well. And America realized it really can't do anything, and it's really losing the grip over Pakistan. Pakistan is pretty much gone. And we are at a stage where we are ready to say that America must leave Pakistan at this point, right? If it leaves Pakistan, there is no other major military base that America has that it can keep an eye on China, Central Asia, Iran, Bharat, everything. It has lost one of its most important strategic assets. The only other assets is Afghanistan is no good. All the other assets are in the Middle Eastern side, on the Qatar and other side. And then you have Diego Garcia, which is way in the south, right? So this alone is the most important asset. And today we are asking, in a way, after Operation Sindoor, even though Trump wanted to take credit for it, and what Bharat said is, no, you have almost no role to play at all. And that's a very assertive way of saying we are ready to actually get you out of Pakistan at this point, because that's really hurting us. So what the Trump government, if you look at it carefully, they actually declared the BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army, as a terrorist organization. There are hundreds of terrorist organizations, established ones, well-funded in Pakistan, in the Punjab area. Only few of them are declared as terrorist organization by the US. But somehow the Balochistan, which never wanted to be part of Pakistan even in 1947, they declared that as a terrorist organization. So I think the actual struggle there behind the scenes, even though they're calling it as trade and tariffs and all of that, the real struggle there is it's about the strategic asset called Pakistan, because there is no other strategic base there anywhere around it for America. It loses Pakistan, it pretty much lost its strategic depth. It did try to get some hold in Bangladesh, but that is not working out. So Pakistan is the only one left. And I think that is the key issue. Everything else that you see is on the surface is they're talking about trade and tariffs and funding the Russian. All of this is for the public consumption. But behind the scenes, this is the most important one. And remember, Modi ji said the Operation Sindoor is still in progress, which means there could be more action that is coming up. And if it does, we are at a state where we'll split Pakistan, Balochistan separates. Most likely the Pashtun area will go away. Punjab is the only area left, which means the entire strategic depth is completely lost. I
So
think that's
America loses a massive land base.
correct.
Let's call it a 100-year lease agreement with Pakistan, ownership of that land totally. And then they are without a piece of property where they can put their assets to
And
use.
let us not forget one important thing. People like Pakistanis are very rare find because they are spineless people. It's a mercenary state and you have a military control. Think about it. The military has been ruling for last 70 years and they can sell to their people. They can sacrifice their people and they can sell to their people on how great the military is. Even today, most of the Pakistanis believe that the military is really great and honest, and they
Yeah.
can sell that idea. There's no such country ever on the face of earth. I mean, this is a perfect mix of everything for American strategic base.
So the question then arises, and there's another very important part. You have given them a very respectable name called mercenary, but it's actually much worse than a rentier state. It will go to China for CPEC arrangement. I'm told that China has withdrawn from CPEC. We know that the prime minister wanted to have a one-on-one equation with Putin, got snubbed there too. So the fact of the matter remains that Russia and China have also got figured out that this courtesan is not going anywhere. It is with America. It's no longer in our interest to hobnob with that guy. This is what has happened to them, and that's why America is happy to have that piece of property, the land, so that they can park their C-17s and nuclear. And a friend of mine recently shared with me some fascinating details, I can't say it here, in which the extent of damage that was done by India was absolutely unexpectedly huge, which
Yes.
shocked, as you rightly said, which shocked America. And they suddenly are rattled badly. Suddenly that base is gone. That land is a meaningless land. It's a tsunami hit land. But it was also, I want to ask you this question. It is called, using the wisdom or extreme maturity? Because India, in its all wisdom and diplomatic niceness, did not disclose the extent of damage that it had done. Primarily, perhaps because Modi cared for Trump or India was looking at a good relationship with America. But the whole thing turned upside down because some people filled Trump's inexperienced ears with absolutely deep state slogan that this is the Modi who has done this, you got to get rid of Modi. So you are looking at a regime change operation going on, just as it happened in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina reportedly refused St. Martin Island for an American base. And then you have Pakistan. So they can't lose both Bangladesh and Pakistan at the same time. And then there is India. They
Yeah.
suddenly
So,
became
so
geopolitically insignificant. Yeah.
yes. So see, that's the thing. So in I think Bharat did not want to embarrass America, and it's not going to do that. It never did it. So whatever has happened, they have notified this behind the scenes, the number of F-16s or the C-17s that have blown up, and all of those things, the AVACs that they had. Obviously, the damage was very significant. It's kind of like a warning shot, as in, America said it gave about 70 F-16s to Pakistan under the clause that they fight the wars that America says you fight. Without American permission, they cannot do anything, right?
Right.
So no other country would accept that. But like I said, Pakistan is a special case. They're a special type of people. So they have those F-16s. So they did take a few F-16s and they were shot down. So which means some of the American assets were destroyed. And behind the scene, I think America already knows. And now Bharat basically said it's about time. And America was trying to make a base in Bangladesh. They kind of already figured this over the last few years, and they were trying to make a base in Bangladesh. The whole reason for the revolution in Bangladesh, right? Because the previous government was very favorable to us. So they did try some of these things, but clearly that isn't working out. Pakistan is a time-tested base. It's been there all along. I'm saying all of these things are happening behind the scene. The public issue on the tariffs and the trade, and if you look at the actual numbers, none of those statements make any
Yeah.
sense. They're completely illogical. So the question is, why would somebody talk such illogical things? Is because on the surface of it, they can say, yeah, there is a 40 billion deficit. There is a deficit, and they're going to, have that rhetoric. The truth is they have bigger deficit with other countries. The other countries that buy the Russian oil, all of these things are for public consumption. The real reason is losing the strategic base in Pakistan, because that's
That's a
kind of
very
you never
that's a
get
very
anywhere in this world.
that's a very
Or
convincing
the
take
country which
that
is
you
like
have
Pakistan.
shown here. Yeah, you have. There's a very convincing take you have on this, that it is the famous Hindi song "Kahin pe nigahein, kahin pe nishana." That
Yes,
was the issue that we needed to save. Got to hit at India because India can take a hit. That's the kind of thing. I have myself said it, and every expert has opined that the magnitude of trade, magnitude of India's export relationship with America, export import relationship, that even if you stop trading, the entire thing is about zero point 0.2 or 0.3% kind of an
yes,
impact on GDP. So no big deal there. So
yes.
I have always said that tariff is a non-issue. It's a reciprocal thing, damn it. So you tell them exactly what you want, tell them what you don't want, matter over. But important part here.
But actually, that brings us to the seismic shift. It
I'm
is
coming to
this
that.
that makes it the whole seismic shift, because the relationships are very different after that.
Correct. Relationship very different after that. Now, that's why my question next to you is, given that these two countries are the world's two most prominent democracies, these are the two most prominent democracies. Where do you see them? What is the strength? Why do we have to be friends? What is the core strength and the future of Indo-US relationship if it has to be there? Considering the fact that we are, you know, 1.6% population in the US, 5 million of the 350 million. Do we really matter? Does it really matter for India, US to be friends? As the saying goes, if जो अफसाना जिसे अंजाम तक लाना न हो मुमकिन उसे एक खूबसूरत मोड़ दे के छोड़ना अच्छा है. Are we at that stage or not? Tell me.
So, irrespective of our percentage, the desis in US, which is about 1 or 2%, but irrespective of that, Like Vajpayee ji has said back in 2000 that Bharat and USA are natural allies. We are the largest democracies, the most pluralistic. If you look at all the cultures and civilizations and ideas and thoughts, pretty much rest in USA and Bharat. Everything. If rest of the world is destroyed, these two countries can recreate the rest of the world. So we are natural allies. We naturally have converging interests. It is like we are two large nations separated by democracy. And I say separated by, yes, it's
That's a good
because,
line. I like that.
yeah, because in China or in any other dictatorial nations, the thing is they can sell whatever they want to their people, to their citizens. What happens between these kind of large, independent, and pluralistic democracies is that everyone is answerable to their people, and all of them have very strong opposition parties, which means it's very difficult to form kind of a friendship that, I mean, no one can really dominate the other side and dictate any other party, right? So in that sense, I think America and Bharat always look after each other's back. These are very important pillars of the world, but at the same time, on the surface of it, yes, they cannot really it appears as if they are not getting along, but really that is not the case. The people to people relationship is one of the best. I think we naturally converge because of a pluralistic and free speech thought process and everything. We are natural friends. So I think Indo-US relation is going to be one of the best in the future. It may not look like the relation that they had, like say with China or even with Pakistan or anything, because that's a very different type of relationship. We are These are a different democratic, very respectable relationships. It's going to look very different, but we have a natural friendship. Forget about what the quarrel between the governments, but from people to people. What I want to tell the viewers is, don't get emotional about it. I think the relationship are going to be great in the future, and from people to people, people actually in USA and in Bharat, we get along really great. The people wise, they're great people on both sides. The governments can have some disputes, like I said, due to strategic issues and things like that. But we are going to have a great future. And it has nothing to do with just 1% population in USA. I'm saying in general, Indo-US relationship, because of their culture and their shared values, is going to be a great partnership.
Mohanji, I agree with you because this is what I have been saying for donkey's years. That the world's two most prominent democracy. I don't use the word large, big, small, old. I say I say two most prominent democracy, and you alluded to that. That the whole world can be recreated by American thought and Indian wisdom and Indian reservoir of everything else. Yet they are separated by democracy for their own good reasons or bad reasons. But important part here is that while everything is great, diversity and everything, like multicultural, the whole 99 yards of things, but people are angry with India. There is a definitely a religious and unholy alliance trope that comes together that views India, Hindus, Sanatanis as a common enemy. And this is a fact because there are people who have confirmed that part of it, that extreme right religious fanatics. And you look at the statements now, Charlie Kirk, Laura Ingraham, they are lambasting about H1B, right? You have Peter Navarro, you know, Senator Lindsey Graham, even Secretary Scott Bessent and the Commerce Secretary, they all threatened India in such undiplomatic, such immature, such a rotten to the core statements that I, as a Republican, was disappointed being a Republican. That am I part of that party that hates me so badly? This is the question that comes to the minds of people like who are Republicans, Indian Americans who are Republicans of Hindu origin, that it shocks the wits out of you. So, as if the Democratic Party trying to hurt Modi, do a regime change through Rahul Gandhi and all, we know how the script was written, right? We know, you and I, we talked about that. But Republicans too, it became like you two, Brutus. All right, I thought you were friend. But no, look at Peter Navarro. He is using the Brahmin racist word. He's introducing racism. A country that fights against racism is using a racist slur against a community that has done you no harm. You said 1.6%? 10% of the doctors are Indians. So many NASA engineers are Indians, right? We contribute 6% of the taxes here. And this is my anger as a Republican coming out just now. So how does one fix that? What was Mr. Bizarro thinking about? Did Trump tell him to do that? This is all fallout of trade war. And you earlier point you made about Pakistan protecting that tiny little country, which is selling its soul to serve your needs. So it's a very angry man that I'm talking about as that Peter Navarro and all. What was he thinking? And he got snubbed by Grok when he asked that question. That's a joke now, right? He got into a fight with Elon Musk now. That Grok is also supporting that. Give us some dope on this man called Pete Bizarro.
All right.
And,
So first,
and Lindsey Graham, who said, I will crush Russia, India, and China. Come on, man.
yes. So first, I would like to say that yes, there is a small, very vocal people who are complete racists and xenophobic, and some of those people are. I mean, you can see there are a lot more vocals or hear about it, but a substantial population of America is not like that. So they don't represent the whole of America. In fact,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
but this small group of people, and in fact, you talked about Peter Navarro, right? I would say Peter Navarro is one specific type of a very archetype racist and a xenophobe. And this is not something, and he's also a very big liar. And this is not something that has come up now. It's been that way for over probably his entire career and life. Right? I'll give you some examples of what he did. This will go over just a few points just to understand what kind of a person he is. He does not represent the rest of the America. Like a substantial portion of America are not like him, but yes, there are people that he caters to. There are a bunch of xenophobes and racists that, he caters to that. And that's probably for any political reasons he must have been put in that position. Because after all, the government has to satisfy, some of the constituent people that also support them, right? So let's just go over what Peter Navarro is. He's currently the director. I mean, he was the director of Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, and is currently the senior counselor to the president for trade and manufacturing. So he was a professor for almost 25 years in California. And his political affiliations, if you look at it, he was a Democrat, and then he became an independent, then a Republican, then an independent, then a Democrat, and then currently as he's a Republican right now. So he's been switching sides over and over again for over the whole course of last several decades. He never belonged to any one side. I think he's just being a little bit of an opportunist. Whoever gave them an opportunity, he just joined that. And you can see that.
That means he is just like Pakistan.
Just like Pakistan. He kept on shifting places. And why would he do that?
His hate for Brahmins now.
Yes. And you can see that he ran for office about 5 times when he was in California. He ran for, I think, from mayor to even the US Congress and many other positions. And he lost all the 5 times. And all of his policies at that time were anti-immigration policies and xenophobic policies. And also some of them are outrightly racist. And some of his actions were also sexist. The reason he lost all of the elections that he fought in California, and he fought 5 times. In fact, at one point, he was even fined for breaking the election laws. So basically, he used all means and kinds. He broke the rules, regulations. He would do anything just to get there. So whether it's a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever the opportunity provides him, he's just fundamentally a xenophobe and a racist, and whatever gets by, he does it. Now, why did I call him a liar? In fact, he's written several books. A book called Death by China in 2011, but several books starting from 2001. He would quote a person called Ron Vara. And you look at it later, it turned out to be the anagram of his own name. He quoted somebody called Ron Vara, who did a PhD in, I think, Harvard. And he's a great economist, and he used to quote him for many of his theories, right? It's there in the Death by China book, as well as another probably 10 other books that he has written. All of them had this name called Ron Vara that he used to quote as a great economist. Later, it was exposed that it's just an anagram of his own name. It's a fictional name. So it's basically faking somebody. And he has done similar things, quoting numbers, quoting people. Many of them are completely fictional. And this is how this so-called professor, he was a professor for 25 years, this is the kind of conduct that he had throughout his life. Now, he is also aware of the Boston Brahmins, sometimes called the Mayflower Brahmins. His terminology, the Boston Brahmins are all the rich and the super rich people and the powerful people in the Boston area, which includes the families of, say, I think the Adams family to also the Roosevelt, and I think Romney family also belongs to the Boston Brahmins. They're all the powerful families, which has nothing to do with what Brahmins actually mean to anyone else, right? Probably he got some words like that. Basically, he is not known to be that knowledgeable on any subject to begin with, because as you can see, he would quote the experts, which he just makes it up. And if somebody does things like this, he was a fake right from the get-go. And I told you about his xenophobic behavior in all of his elections that he has lost, right? And the last one is, do you know that in 2022, the House Select Committee has sent him the subpoenas, and he refused to go for any of these subpoenas. He refused to go for the House Select Committee. And so eventually he was convicted, he was arrested, and he was sent to prison for 4 months. All right. At that time, he claimed that Trump was asserting an executive privilege for him. And so he doesn't have to go to the subpoena. He said Trump is the one who has given him that executive privilege. But later it turned out there was no such evidence. Trump never did any of those things. So basically, he's okay with taking anybody's name. And the reason he was sent to prison for 4 months, I think in 2024, he went to prison for not going for the subpoenas of the House Select Committee, which is the highest body. It's not even the regular courts. The Select Committee, when they send a subpoena, it's very serious. It is of something of national interest. Apparently, he doesn't care about the laws. He doesn't care about the Congress. He doesn't care about any of these things. And he, in fact, even claimed that it's Trump who was supporting him, which later turned out to be fake and false, because Trump said he has never sent, he is not, apparently he didn't even have an idea of what Navarro has actually said. So why is he in Trump administration? This kind of a complete archetype racist and xenophobe is, I believe there must be some political compulsions, or we don't know, because maybe they have to satisfy. There are definitely some racists in America. There's no doubt about that. And there are xenophobes. Maybe they had to satisfy some of those groups, and therefore they put him there. He's one of the proponent for these tariffs or anything against China. He has a lot of rhetorics against even Canada. I mean, the way he talks, given his position, that is not a language used by anyone of his position. He's just a complete loose mouth. All right. So I think it is some political compulsion, the reason he's still in the Trump administration. Other than that, I think he's somebody who's completely worthless and nobody should even give a damn about what he says.
I want to thank you for telling so much story about Peter Navarro, but he's not alone. What about Lindsey Graham, who were the first one to start the? Let me finish the question then. Who were the first one to start by saying we'll crush Russia, India, and China, and suddenly Russia, India, and China found, hey, we have a common thing. We can't let America do this to us, right? Because we have that. So they've suddenly found a common interest. Then you had Scott Bessent, Secretary Treasury. You found out suddenly that, oh, he was Soros fund manager and one of the big money makers in the famous, pound sterling bet hedge that Soros had done. He's part of Secretary Treasury. He has made some nasty statements. Of late, we heard him say that, oh, we have a great relationship. We will sort it out and we'll do it. But you give me galis first, and then you tell me you are a nice guy. Sorry, I don't buy that. I have a problem with that. It's unfortunate. And I'm saying this as a Republican. While I applaud Mr. Trump for fixing so many domestic issues, but on this matter, I mean, I agree with you. There was something about that darling called Pakistan that the Trump could not wish away that charm. Having said that, I want to also ask you this part of the question is, there's one thing, considering the time factor, I want to focus on this important element about Indian Americans. Because of these rhetorics of Charlie Kirk, Laura Ingram, Peter Navarro, blaming us for making us look bad. See, it has a very deleterious impact on common people who are generally supposed to be good, who you and I agree that they are not bad people, but they get swindled because media plays it out, right? So you are now looking at almost a chorus, as if Indians are the ones who have cornered, manipulated, and taken over the American program called H1B, which was I said, hey, there is a cap on it, 60, 70, 80,000 cap on it. You have a people apply for the job and you select them. You don't have to select them. You can go and choose people from any country you want if you get the equally good people. But Indians bring the stem to their entire forte, and that's why you take them. It's not because you love them. You don't love the guy from Andhra like Mohan Sonti or Vibhuti Jha or anybody else, but you got a genius. You're working for US tech companies, major tech companies in all your life. The question here is very important. This targeting of Indian Americans has put a target on our back. And now everybody is shooting off their mouth. Whether it's Laura Loomer, Laura Ingram, Charlie Clark. I mean, it's a ridiculous statement to me. We don't need H1B people. Of course, you don't need anybody if you had enough in your side. You won't be having 80,000 quota. Remove that. Scrap that H1B program. It's like what I'm reminded of. Sorry to say, make it a longish statement to drive home a point. When in the first debate in 2016 between Hillary Clinton and Trump, Hillary Clinton accused him for being Trump as a tax evader or he doesn't pay taxes and all. Trump's reply in that debate was a masterstroke. He said, you made those laws. If you don't make those laws, I won't take advantage of that. So go back, rescind those laws, cancel the laws, but you will not cancel that because your people are benefiting from that. That's what won him the election because he called the wrong thing out. Why isn't Trump calling these wrong things out at this point in time?
So I think at some point, let's say just the Lindsey Graham part, right?
Yeah.
He is a little different from Peter Navarro. Lindsey Graham is basically a politician, all right, and he's just an opportunist. And the way he preempted Trump ahead of time and calling out India, Russia, and China, I think he kind of undermined what Trump is doing. So he is going to play those games. Like any other politician, he's going to play that. And when the opportune time comes up, I think he's going to trip Trump. So that's kind of a political game that he's playing. But Navarro is not like that. Navarro is just complete fool. I mean, he's just a racist. So he does things for his own personal gains, all right, for his own xenophobic reasons.
Okay.
And said that, so your point on the H1Bs, the total number of the Indians getting green cards is about 15,000 per year, which is truly minuscule. All right. So if you look at the numbers, these people have no reason to be worried about it. And regarding the H1, which started only in 1990s, and it was started for the benefit of US, because we have to remember that H1, they can stay here for only 6 years, right? And they pay into the Social Security and all of that. But the benefits of Social Security only kick in after 10 years, which means a lot of this is a lopsided system, which is deliberately set up in a way that the people who earn the money on H1 actually pays into a system which they will never utilize. So it is for the benefit of US that they have done this. All right, they haven't done any other favor to anyone else.
Right.
So if they want to get rid of H1, like you have said, who is stopping them? They can, but they won't, because it actually benefits them. In fact, they are taking, when you talk about Social Security and Medicare and all those taxes, they are taking a substantial amount of the money earned by the H1s, which they will never benefit later. They'll never get the benefits for it, right? So there is an extra tax that they take. So it is completely ridiculous and meaningless to have an issue with these H1s. Many of them are not getting the green cards anyway. Like I said, 15, because of the country quota, only 15,000 people will get it per year. So which means they should have no issue with it. That is literally trickling down of people. 15,000 in a country with 300 million people is practically nothing. So
So
I don't, yeah.
it's
I think
it's a
Trump is surrounded by
non-issue.
some wrong advisors.
In reality, it's a non-issue.
It is a non-issue.
And funnily enough, the kind, I mean, this brings me back to the Indian attitude to the whole process. Why are we so dormant, quiet, taking the hit and suffering and getting the blame, not replying? We'll take it, all the crap that comes for a good luxurious life that I'm able to lead here. But there's a very interesting element that has come up recently. Indians curse NRIs because these people went to earn some dollars, they left the country, they ran away, they are traitors to the country, or let them suffer. They are having that kind of a feeling. Indians here are saying, oh, India doesn't care, India doesn't have this facility and that facility. Then there is another group of people who say, hey, you guys are Americans now. You don't live in America. Your loyalty belongs to America. You have nothing to do with India. Whatever happens to India, let Indians deal with that. And I'm totally stunned by this because I'm of the opinion, because I came to this, my situation is uniquely different. I didn't come here as H1. I came on L1 with American Express Bank to promote Indian US businesses and interests. So I came on L1 category where my job was to bring India to America and create relationship between the two. So for me, my view was very different. I said, yeah, we got to do things together to get it done. But here is a group of people who are openly saying, and I know them by name, who say Indians need not worry about, Indian Americans need not worry about India at all because we are Americans now. And as America tells you, kicks you in the butt. Where is the loyalty factor? It's an important factor. Where is the loyalty factor? People ask this question, if America and India have a war, who will you support? I said, come on, guys, get out of that rat trap. You have to get out of that rat trap. Your thoughts on that?
So I did get this question in many places saying that you live in America and you need to be loyal to America in some sense or whatever, right? And you have even a lot of particularly on this far right people who claim that they should be suspicious and things like that, right? Because they expect us to be loyal. They claim that we are not loyal Indians. Right. So on this subject, let me just give a little bit of a history. See, do you know that there is something called Chinese Exclusion Act of 1982?
Mm-hmm.
That is when the Chinese laborers and all of them were barred from coming to USA. Then they added something called Asian Exclusion Act of 1917, where they created a zone where all the Asians, including Indians, were barred from coming to USA, right? Then it was solidified in Immigration Act of 1924, where they had the national origin quota. If you look at all of these immigration acts, they were basically saying people from Europe can always come in here, but somehow only from Asia and other places, they cannot come in here, right? So why do you think they are especially favorable to Europe? They've always been, right? All the way till today, when you see that you have a $240 billion deficit with Europe, and with China, it is $295 billion. But for Europe, it is also the entire security blanket that they have because of NATO, which means the total actual money spent on Europe is substantially high. So over the centuries, they have always been favorable to Europe. And the reason for that is the white Americans who came here have not forgotten their roots. If you think about it, it's going to be 250 years now after independence. Mm-hmm. So it's almost 10 generations after independence. Every white person knows their country of origin. Nobody has forgotten. I have not come across a single white person who does not know which part of Europe they come from. And I think all of that, if you really talk about loyalty, the fact that 10 generations later, and if you look at the Americans who came first, the Europeans who first landed in America, it's almost 20 generations later. All of them remember their country of origin. And till today, 2025, they are still favorable to Europe, which means none of them have forgotten their Grandma's place, the country of origin. None of them did. Not one white American. I have not come across one white American who does not know his country of origin. So, talking about loyalty, the question is, can you say that they were never loyal to begin with? Or maybe it's okay to remember their country of origin. The only people in America who probably don't know their country of origin are the slaves that they brought from Africa. And it's very unfortunate. So, for any other country, if they think, and most Indians are first generation Americans, and what exactly do they expect? That we completely forget about Bharat, have no relationship? When 20 generations later, they are very favorable to Europe, right? So I think the question of loyalty and all of that is utter nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all, because all the laws they have passed till date, all the immigration laws for almost a century, any discrimination they have done, they have always been favorable to Europe for one simple reason, that they know their country of origin and they're still loyal to Europe. Even in 2025, as you see the deficit numbers, they never have big issues with Europe. As big an issue they have with $45 billion deficit India, or $280 billion deficit with China. They have issues with all those countries, not with Europe, which has it has a $240 billion deficit plus the security blanket. It spends more money on that, which means every white man here, their loyalty to America is actually questionable if you really want to go by the facts, because they are loyal to Europe, right? So asking this kind of a loyalty is utterly a meaningless question. The first generation immigrants, and particularly, and even if it is a couple generations down, all of us will remember their country of origin. America is in a position where it can maintain a great relation. In fact, they should leverage these people from other countries and build great relation across with all the other countries, rather than saying that they should forget the country of origin, which none of the Europeans have ever forgotten.
Do you think the color white had to do something with that? The affinity between the Europeans and
The
Americans?
country of origin. It's not even the white, the country of origin. They all know precisely which country they came from. So I'm saying, if it's a question of loyalty, the fact that they remember their country of origin 10 generations later or 20 generations later and are favorable to them, their loyalty should be equally questioned. Or we can say that just as they have great relation with Europe, take the people from, say, Philippines, Mexico, or Bharat, China, or anyone, and then build great relation with those countries as well. And America is perfectly positioned to actually have a great relation with all the countries, because it has people from all the countries, right? So otherwise this is nothing but racism, right? If they think somehow the Europe is special and that's okay, but everybody else must forget. In fact, the last time they did that was to Africans who were brought in as slaves. They are the only people who don't know their precise country of origin, and that is so sad, right? It's very unfortunate.
Yeah. So we are known as Indian Americans, but they are known as African Americans.
Yeah.
They are not known as Nigerian Americans or South African Americans or Tanzanian Americans,
So I think that is a racist idea. Somebody asking for loyalty is a racist thing, because if we go by the actual facts, after 10 to 20 generations, they were not loyal to America either. They're still loyal to Europe.
The loyalty thing also comes, to my surprise, many prominent wealthy Indians in various parts of the country who question you and I. Why do you stand up for India? Why must you argue for India? You are an American. You must remain an American and support American. I'm saying there is no doubt about it. That I'm in America. I'm living here. I will not do anything that hurts America. I do have the right to question a decision or a policy that affects my homeland, my former homeland.
And also, you can ask them, anyone who says this, ask them, do they have the cheeks to ask any of the white American to not support Europe?
Yeah.
Ask them, don't support Europe. Be American. It's been 10 generations or 20 generations. Why do you want to support Europe for everything? And they still do it. Why? So their loyalty is definitely questionable at this point if they keep supporting Europe, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think I think that's just a racist thing when people talk about loyalty. There's nothing more than that.
I'm reminded of my favorite satirist, P.J. O'Rourke, who I was present in Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan when he was speaking. The brilliant humorist. His books are absolutely hilarious. You can't help laughing. And he said that this is around 2004 when Bush was fighting election. He said, America will forever have a problem having a comprehensive immigration plan or a comprehensive foreign policy because every goddamn American is a foreigner. He said, I was there when this conversation happened, and but I want to come back to a final thought on it with the remaining few minutes that we have for this today. Is Trump in his lease, there was a last week, there was a particular moment where there was supposed to be a big announcement by Trump, and everybody was waiting with bated breath. What announcement will it be? And a lot of speculation. Ultimately turned out to be to have the Space Force located from Colorado to Alabama. In that presser, he made a statement that but for America, the world would be nothing. You remember that? Did you hear about that? He made I was listening to that. He said that but for America, the world would be nothing. The question came to me, my mind was, who built America? Right? The blood, I mean, Americans of those days also fought the independence war against England just as Indians did.
Yes.
All the Indians were fighting. So my question is, who built America and what is today's America? Is there any difference as we celebrate 250 years getting to there and India going to celebrate 100 years of his present day independence from the past? Your thoughts on that? If you are not comfortable talking about it, it's perfectly fine. But I just thought.
Yes, I think that is a complete bragging. I mean, I think they have a very limited view of the whole history. America is one of the youngest nations. It's only 250 years old, right? There are so many other civilizations that are thousands of years old. So I think your original comment on but for America and America did everything, that is a little bit of bragging. There's nothing more than that. Now, regarding who built America, the America that was built initially is quite different from the America we have today. It's been shaping and changing over the centuries, right? We know about the Emancipation Proclamation that happened in 1863 and the Civil War from 1861 to 65. So that has completely changed a lot of things. And the America that we appreciate today is not the America that existed before that. It is a very different type of America. In fact, things did not change entirely in 1863 either. It took several more years. It's only in 1965, 100 years later, with all the laws that were the civil rights laws that came in, is the America that we think today is a great America, I would say is more like from 1965 after the Civil Rights Act. Would anyone want to go back to the era before that? I can tell you a lot of people in this country do not want to go back to that. Definitely not any of the Black Americans or the Chinese or Indian or anybody else. So was it a great America? It was great for a small segment of people, not for everyone. All right. So the people who talk about the greatness in the past, things have changed over the centuries. And what the America that we appreciate today is not the America that was there in 1800s. That was completely racist, and it had slavery. It had so many things. So everything that we appreciate today is not the same as what it was before. It has changed.
It has changed. My question was also driven by a very interesting observation made by my congressman, Tom Swazi, from Long Island, who openly called that AOC and Mamdani must leave Democratic Party because they don't belong here. So Democratic Party's extreme left scenario has changed one of the parties in this country. It's Bernie Sanders' party. It's a leftist, Marxist, socialist, Leninist, Islamists. They have taken over the party. Even Bill Clinton would not qualify to be as Democratic Party membership today. And that is a matter of concern because there are elements of extremism even in Republican Party.
Yes.
That is playing its role. The religious fanaticism or absolute racism, it shows. That's the tragedy of America's of 21st century.
Actually, even that changed. If you remember, the Democratic Party and Republican Party had a role reversal too
Yes.
in 1960s because Lincoln was Republican Party. So
Right.
the so-called liberal and all of that was actually Republican Party. The conservative and the racist and all of that was actually Democratic Party.
Yes, that's right.
That role reversal changed. So I'm just saying, when people talk about past, it is they somehow try to extend everything that's present. That is not the case. It's an entirely different America that you had at that time.
This is precisely the question which I asked some of the Republican Party members because I transitioned from Democrat to Independent to Republican. And I said, how did we Republicans allow the Democratic Party to snap on us or load on us all the evils that they complain about today, which they were the ones who started? Go
Yes.
figure. Go figure. No answer for that. Hey,
I don't think any one of
brilliant.
these people can talk about their past because
Yeah,
if you look at it, everybody had a complete role reversal.
total
Whether
role.
it's the parties or whether even the country that they say that you had a great country in the past. No, we didn't. It was great only for few people in 1800s. You ask any slave and ask him if it was a great country. No, it wasn't.
It
Right?
wasn't.
So I'm just saying the America that we see today has shaped over the 250 years and it has matured, and we want to see more progress in the right direction.
Right.
But to say that somehow everything is in the past was good is completely wrong.
Mohanji, it is always brilliant to have a conversation with you because you bring insights and data to support those insights. That's truly remarkable. Things about Peter Navarro's past I was not aware of. I had heard about it. And, thank you very much for your deep insight and thoughts that you
Namaste.
brought to the conversation today. To the viewers, I want to ask you something very simple. You know, there's a Jaipur Dialogue is doing its annual event called with the title Shatru Bodh. Know your enemy. Know the nature of the beast you are dealing with. It's also very important to do Swayam Bodh. Get to know yourself, what you are and what you can't be, right? I want to urge you today a very humble appeal. Go to Google, search an article by Sri Aurobindo written in 1907. It's called The Samurai and the Bourgeois, or Bourgeois or the Samurai, whichever come they used. This was an article written by Sri Aurobindo, which was not allowed by the British to come mainstream. 1907. The British did not allow that article, that essay to come out. Congress party suppressed that article, suppressed many of the things that the Congress party has done to the country until, now you can read even Godse's statement, openly. The question here is very simple. Read that. That will give you an idea why we became what we became, how Japan rose adopting its own samurai culture, took things from Britain. Theme of this article is how Sri Aurobindo said that how Japan and India were influenced, attacked, devastated by British rule. Japanese learned the lesson. True to their samurai culture, they prospered. You know how Japan prospered in the world around, despite being atom bombed. We became the bourgeois. What is the definition of bourgeois? It will create you a self awareness by just reading the first two pages. And I want you to do that because that's the only way with the self learning comes. Then you know how to fight your opponent because then you know who you are. With these words, thank you very much for joining today. Thank you, Mohanji, once again. Please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. Thank you. As I always send, Satyameva Jayate. For truth to triumph, you have to stand up and fight for it. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.